Hey there everyone, welcome to Eden Star. In today's video I'm going to show you guys some of the areas on the new beta map that they've released, that better spots to build, some of the different areas that you can build, and what kind of buildings you want to build to prevent the destruction of your base upon nighttime arriving. So starting out, you're going to start out in the map like this. Um, on a side note, if you need a quick tutorial on the game and all of the controls, how to build, all the basics and such like that, just go ahead up here to the top right of your screen and click on that link there. That's going to send you to my tutorial video on getting started here on Eden Star. With that being said, we'll go ahead and get started here. The best place that I've found so far is actually the first selection, Onyx Shelf. It's got a rich amount of resources, so we'll just go ahead and deploy there. Alright, upon starting out, you're going to start randomly in that general area of where you clicked. There you can see on the map right there, the M button that is, where your character is. So, from this point, you're going to want to head inland. And what you're going to find inland is a nice kind of swampy area, I suppose is the best way to call it. But what I love about this area the most is the fact that, well, it's kind of misty, and there's almost like a fog to it, it seems like. I'll show you guys once we get to there. I just wanted to show you guys how to get there, so you'd have a nice idea. And of course, you gotta love the new added creatures that they've made. Pretty cool. And then up there in the top left screen, you can see we only got, what, 8 minutes and 30 seconds till it's nightfall. So, oftentimes, they really do not give you a lot of time to get started. For this video, though, I think I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the baddies. Just so that way, we can make it a little bit easier, showing you guys what's up. Alright, so, as you can see here, where my arrow is, this is kind of where the swampy area begins. If you look out, you can actually see like a little bit of a mist. That is not part of the game rendering or anything like that. Anytime you see mist in the game like that, it's going to be like a foggy area. That's really good place to hide, at least I think, especially when they add the multiplayer. Because once you get into the mist, your giant Eden Star, or not Eden Star, but Eden Kit lights are dulled out quite a bit. Here we are, entering the mist now. What it does is it dulls out the colors, and it makes everything a lot harder to see. So it's almost like a fog of war. And there you go. Now you can barely even see anything. It's all foggy and misty in here. So, here we are on my map, up in the top left screen. And then another cool thing about this area is almost all of the resources contain gold. And if you guys know anything about crafting in this game, you need gold. So that is another favorite part of this spot that I've chosen right here. Gold is one of the more difficult resources to get, unless you're just, you know, cheating and pressing the free build mode, where you don't have to gather resources. But come the time when it's time to actually play the game for real, and you're not allowed to use any cheats or anything, then you're gonna want to know that. One thing I've noticed, if you're into, you know, not dying at night, you're gonna want to put up these posts. The nice thing about building these posts is it essentially slows or hinders all ground units, so that way you don't have ground units. And from that point, you really only have to worry about air units, which really isn't a big deal. And as you can see up here, we've got a nice amount of turrets, so nothing to worry about at all. Though it does seem like we have gotten a bit of lost power here. I suppose we better get some power back up. And then all what you gotta do is press the Q button. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you need to get an idea of basic building procedures and all that jazz, just go back to the beginning of the video, and my link to that video of where I explain most of that stuff's right there. So we'll go ahead and set up some more jennies. There we are. And all of our base defenses are going to be online. Let's do a quick mashup of some of the turrets. In order of difficulty to craft, we're going to go ahead and start with the missile turret. The missile turret is the most difficult to craft. All of the required materials are going to be over there in the left hand screen, but even though it is the most difficult to craft, it is also the most damaging. All of the turrets so far, with the building materials that they've released, all have about the same amount of hit points, 120. And so far there hasn't really been any change to that as far as I can tell. I'm sure that they'll change that in the future though, being that honestly these turrets are pretty easy to smash, and they're really expensive, so it's kind of a pain in the butt. That's honestly why the laser posts out there are actually one of the main sources of defense. Got resources going a bit low here, better feed my character so that way I don't die in front of you guys. And then the next turret that we got is the energy turret. The energy turret shoots kind of like a laser beam. They're really handy as a constant damage. They're great for flyers. They don't have a crazy range. Obviously the missile turret's going to have the best range and the best damage. That's why it's so expensive. And alternatively, the energy turret is arguably one of the cheaper turrets to use, being that it only requires one computer chip and a little bit of aluminum. Aluminum's pretty easy to find around this planet though. So definitely the second best turret, I would say. And then last but not least, you have the standard auto turret, which fires your bullets. Luckily you do not have to load up bullets into the auto turret yet, so that's quite a nice improvement. Also, it only takes titanium and copper wire and lubricant, all of which are easy to access materials, being that copper is a fairly common resource, and oil you're going to find in most plants like trees and such, where you find fiber. So honestly, they're the easiest to make, but they also don't do a whole lot of damage compared to the missile turret, and they're not constant like the laser turrets. So that's kind of a sum up of the turrets that they've released so far. I honestly hope to see them release more turrets and kind of give us a bit of a more variety, I'd like to say. Just, you know, because this is a cool sci-fi game. I mean, who doesn't want to see cool, like, maybe plasma cannons? I'd like to see a railgun, a magnetically powered railgun. And also, you know, maybe have some larger class turrets as well. But this game still is quite early access, so we'll just have to stand by and see what they make about this game. Alright, next thing is obviously going to be your next line of defense. After your laser walls and your turrets is going to be the walls yourself. And we're going to craft those just under the primitive section. Now there's several different types of walls you can make. Obviously they're going to be for your prettiness, how pretty you want to make your base. But that honestly doesn't matter because you can only get attacked one of two ways currently. In the air and on the ground. And I don't know, I suppose eventually they'll make an underwater base. But until now, or until then, that's how it is right now. So you only got to protect from the air and the ground. So a nice enclosed structure like this is obviously going to give you nominal protection. However, all walls are not created equal. You have your lab wall, which is pretty much just glass. That's really easy to break into. That's just for decorative, I would assume. And then most of your stuff's going to be just the titanium. So I'll just go ahead and show you guys a wall real quick that'll place down. I'll go ahead and set up a nice titanium wall. Alright, on setting the titanium wall, whatever side that you face is going to be like this reflective material. It kind of gives you a space age kind of feel, which is kind of nice. And you have your 600 hit points there. That's pretty easy to bust open by any standards. Now if you want to up that, what you're going to do is you're going to go to modifications, and when you look at that structure, over there you'll see that we have the Bridgmanite wall fortification option. Now that is going to bring us up to 1500 hit points. That's a lot more sturdy than our old 600 hit points. So yeah. And then also, if you scroll through materials, there's also plasteel. Plasteel is pretty nice, but not as much hit points as the Bridgmanite. And then of course you got your titanium wall fortification, but it doesn't give you nearly as much as your Bridgmanite. Plus the Bridgmanite gives it a nice grey look to it. And then your inside is still going to stay like kind of the inside of a spaceship almost. So you got to keep that in mind when building your structure. If you build whatever side you build facing is going to be the nasty grey part, and the opposite side is going to be the cool part. I suppose they did it that way, so that way the inside of your base could look cool, while the outside is functionally strong. The hit points do work on both sides, so there's no need to worry about that. Alright, let's do a quick up of what kind of enemies you'll be facing. For the most part, you're going to be facing a lot of ground enemies once you're starting out small, but I've noticed with the larger your base is, the more tiles you've created, the more enemies that come on by. So you got to keep that in mind. You can have a nice little base with a couple turrets, 1 or 2, maybe 3, and not terribly big building, and you won't get attacked that hard. But once you start getting this big, well, it's quite ridiculous the amount of enemies that come on by, and it can be quite the resource gathering game in between nightfalls. So you got to keep that in mind. Just start out small, build a bunch of lockboxes, and just start hoarding resources once you want to build whatever big thing you want to build. And take your time planning it out. Obviously some things have more hit points than others. Figure that out and figure your layout, so that way your auto turrets have maximum coverage. I like the tower strategy, where you have all of your turrets on towers. I suppose another strategy I was thinking of was to actually put pillars over here on the sides. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about real quick. Is to just put pillars out here and start putting turrets up on them in all the 4 corners, and I think that would be a great little defense procedure. And then you could have one giant pillar in the center, kind of like what I've got set up there. But honestly, the base building's all going to be up to you guys. But just a couple ideas here. And also, they've recently released, or are going to release, larger creature types, where similar to the large walking creature that was in the beginning of the video, is the only way to defeat it is to drag its legs out from underneath it with the telekinetic power, and slowly siphoning off its health with whatever damage you can deal with it. So that's going to be quite exciting. They only do that once your base is large enough to support the attack. So there's no worries about it even when your base is, you know, this big. Because this isn't even really all that big. Some of the guys out there have really massive bases, and that's going to be when the game figures that you're high enough up to be able to spawn a dangerous creature like that. One of these days I'm going to try to make a video of that, show you guys that cool new creature. Well, for now I figured I'd just show you some basics of base defense and building and all that fantastic jazz. So there we go. There's just a bit of tips and tricks on base building. Scroll on through, make your base how you want, and I'd be real happy to see what some of you guys are doing with your bases out there. Just post them up under the comment section, and I'd love to see your feedback, guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think I'm gonna that's it for this video. I hope to make another video here coming up, some new stuff. Let me know if you guys would like me to do anything, and I'd appreciate feedback from you guys. Right, cheers.